Hi everyone, my name is Natalie, welcome back. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for the amazing reception that I received on my previous video, BIPOC representation in craft. I just want to say thank you very much to all the people who commented, liked, subscribed. So as 2023 draws to a close, I feel myself wanting to clear all my languishing whips, get those off my needles, and mend all of the old knitwear, or not old, but mend some of the knitwear that I've needed to mend for a while now. So this episode is essentially about sharing my finished objects and showing you my mending, and of course sharing with you some of my New Year's intentions. So I have 3 finished objects to share with you today and 1 mended pair of socks. So let's get into that. I apologise for the light. It's suddenly very sunny outside, but it's absolutely freezing, so that's why we have the fire on. So I'm just going to adjust. Right, okay, there we go. So my first finished object is the Shifty Sweater. You've seen this before. This is by Andrea Mowry. It's a mosaic knitted effect made with blips and stockinette, essentially. So I had a few issues with this. The first I've spoken about in my previous episode. Essentially, I knitted it with scrap yarn, just block colour scrap yarn that I had in my stash already, and that I've used many times before. Andrea Mowry uses spin cycle yarn, which is, twisted and variegated. As far as I know, I don't really know anything about spin cycle. And it has a very different effect, so I was surprised. Maybe I should have paid a little bit more attention to the recommended yarns. I don't tend to do so. I just use what I want to use, usually yarn that's already in my stash, for patterns in general. So as long as I meet gauge, I don't really care about using the recommended yarns. But I was surprised that that my project looked quite different to a lot of the sampled projects on Ravelry, but it is what it is. I actually like how mine has come out. I like the colours and the fact that I managed to make quite a good dent in some of the old yarns that I have. So so this, I was a bit worried about having enough of the wool cone fingering weight yarn, which I held double together with Drops alpaca silk, which is what I've got left. But I had plenty left to finish my project. I also have quite a lot of the accent colours left, so I'll probably make a hat or some mittens or something like that in the future. So I love knitting with leftovers and scraps. So yeah, I'm quite happy to have this jumper. The second issue that I had with this is once I finished the sweater, I tried it on and I had quite a bit of fabric in the back. It's blocked out fine, thankfully, but I was quite alarmed. So I think if I was to knit this again, I would probably be a bit more conscious about how to do my increased rounds, because Andrea Mowry has you do an increased round, I would say like every 6 centimeters or so. So it's quite a way. They are quite spaced out. And the last increase round is around about here. And if I was to re-knit this, I would probably make all of the increase rounds, you know, lessen the spacing between each increase round, so you get more of a quicker increase rather than, you know, spacing out the increase round. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I am happy with the fit. I knitted size 2 in the pattern. I think maybe if I was to knit this again, because I'm using quite a thick fabric, which I love to have thick woolly winter knits. But if I was to knit this again, I would probably try to account for fewer centimeters of positive ease. I probably have about 5 centimeters positive ease, so I would probably go for a little bit less if I was to knit this again. But overall, I'm happy with the final effect of the sweater. Yes, sorry. The last issue that I had was the jogging in the back. I will insert some B-roll footage of what I'm talking about, but there is a where you start the beginning of the round at the back of the in the middle of the back, there is a visible jog or join where the rows don't quite join up. So it would have been nice for the pattern to maybe account for that. You know, looking at the finished object, I think that many people also experienced the same thing with regards to the jog, so it would have been nice to not have that, because there are ways as you're knitting to prevent the jogging from happening. And I only really noticed it once I had finished the garment, so a bit silly, but it is what it is, and at least it is in the back, so I don't actually have to think about it or see it very often. Also, now that I'm looking at the garment like this, obviously it's a winter sweater, so it is actually I will, if I'm going outside, I will be using a scarf, but I think there are so many patterns that don't have, you know, a snug neckline, and I think I probably will have to investigate on my own, not following a pattern, to start, you know, a good cast on edge or a go-to neckline, so that you don't get this wide boat neck situation going on. So many patterns have this, and I just don't understand if it's a fashion or is it a me thing. Maybe I'm knitting incorrectly, I have no idea, but something that I would like to fix in future projects. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Shifty by Andrea Mowry. Finished object number 2. So I would like to practice lace. I have created many projects in lace work, and I've never been thrilled with the final result. I feel that I need a lot more practice. I need a lot more tips and tricks to make my lace work pop and come out as intended. I decided to cast on a very small project to practice lace. One of my dog's Christmas presents was a lacework cowl. Now, because I am a child, I found this lacework pattern. It's called The Happy Little Penis Stitch by Victoria Marchant Knits, and I thought it was a great pattern to practice. So this was a free pattern. I was just going to knit a swatch of this, but then I decided to make it, to seam it the back and add a little linen label, and it could be a cowl for my dog. So with dogs, in the UK, you do need to have a collar on a dog when you take them out in public. That a collar that has your contact details on it. So you're required by law. So I decided to get a load of linen labels created that I could stitch into his collars and his new cowl. Right. As you can see, you can't really see the penises properly when he's wearing it, but if someone asks about them, I can just say that they are bones gone wrong. I guess they are kind of a bone in some respect, but it is what it is. But from this simple knit, I managed to learn a couple of things with regards to knitting lace. One is that for me, I get confused with making sure that I have the right number of stitches. So I mitigated this by using stitch markers after every repeat, and that helped me a lot to keep track of the pattern and the stitch counts. So I would recommend doing that, and I will do that every time I knit lace in the future. And the second tip that I learned, or the second thing that I learned, is to help the yarn overs pop into like proper round circles. For example, here for the balls, it helps to, when you knit a yarn over, and obviously the next row, if you're knitting flat, would be a purl row, but then the next knit row, if you knit the yarn over through the back loop, that tends to close the circle a little bit more, so you don't get that laddered effect on the stitch, or sorry, on the row above the yarn over. It just closes the circle a little bit better. So I will definitely be doing that tip in the future. So yeah, the light is going, so I'm just gonna have to speed this along a little bit. The yarn I used for this is some West Yorkshire spinners, 50% wool and 50% acrylic, so it can be easily washed. Okay, finished object number 3. I finished a pair of socks. So these haven't been washed or blocked. I really like the effect. I am calling these my Tequila Sunrise socks. And yeah, they are just ankle socks, and they're very warm, and the yarn, these are sock yarns. This is sock yarn, and so it's 75% wool, superwash wool, and 25% nylon. So I thought I would try. I've never used this sock yarn before. It's the Zauberball by Schoppel, the German yarn. And what is extra cool about this is that I have a pair, and then I weighed the leftovers, and I actually have 51 grams left from a 100 gram skein, so I have enough to make an exact pair again. So I'm very happy with that. That's pretty cool. And I like the fact that they are reversed, so you've got the gradient, so from orange to purple, and then purple to orange down to the end. So yeah, I probably will knit another pair and gift them to a family member or a friend. Um, yeah, so I'm very happy to have those off my needles, and so I will then wash these now and block them, and they will be ready to enjoy. Is my finished object. I don't actually have the socks that I mended with me here. Could go and get them, but I've um, showed them on this podcast before, and I will insert some footage here of my mending. Let's go into knit plans for the future. So I have actually been really terrible with this commission knit. Really do need to get these finished. I am suffering from second sock syndrome with this knit, which is terrible because I'm actually being paid for this, but I just I just haven't had the motivation to knit much for other people, and yes, normalize this energy. No, I will get this done and given to the recipient, but he's not in a hurry for it, so that at least is positive. And I also need to get this sweater. So this is the anchors for my husband. I have to get this finished. He is also not in a rush for it, so it makes it more of an enjoyable. I think for me, what it is that I'm not really enjoying knitting with this yarn. So this is the merino cotton yarn, and it's held singly, and I don't know, I just find it quite rough on the hands. Like, I am very much a person who loves the feel of woolly wool, not only wearing it but also knitting with it. I love the feel of that sort of greasy lanolin on your hands, and the tackiness. I love it. I love it. But yeah, don't have this with it. So it is a little bit like just knitting with random cotton string. So I'm not really a fan of that, but I'm using this yarn because my husband wanted something with cotton. He is not really a coldy type of person. Um, and when he is cold, he likes to layer up, so he doesn't really like, so something like this, like a thick woolly jumper, is not a good thing for him. I have knitted him a sweater using woolly wools, and he does use it all the time, but he tends to use it sort of on really cold days at home to like just curl up on the sofa. So it's more of a comfort for him rather than a sweater to go out and about. It's not like disparaging my knitting, or maybe it is, but as long as I see him wearing it and using it, I don't really care. But to knit him a sweater that he could wear out, layer with what he normally wears. So yeah, so I will get this off my needles, I guess, in the next few weeks. Now, knitting plans. I would like to knit more with lace and sort of challenge myself a little bit more, and really be intentional about what I'm knitting. Look at my wardrobe and look at the things that I have already knitted myself. And last year, like this time last year, I had the intention of knitting primarily from scraps and or using what I already had. And I feel that I have made quite great strides in doing that. I have made quite a good dent in, in my stash. I don't have a large stash, to be honest with you, but I do have my staples like the woolly cones that once I purchase, because they are very affordable to me, once I purchase those, I get a lot of use out of it. I use it for sweaters, I use it for socks. So those are, I think it's good if you're curating a stash to have those sort of staples, those go-to yarns, workhorse yarns. So for me, it's those woolly cones. So I still have a lot, so I will still be knitting from stash, but I've also done quite a lot this year with regards to knitting from bits that like not full skeins, so like 20 gram, 50 gram skeins in your stash. I knitted my trousers, so my bell bottoms, using all scraps, and this Shifty Sweater, etc. So there are a lot of options for those of you who do want to make a dent in your stash yarns. So please do that. let's bring that energy forward in like using what we have rather than always needing to buy more. Currently, I am swatching for the As If Tea by Shay Johnson. So as I saw this and I thought, oh, this will be a really lovely t-shirt or top for the spring, for autumn. I don't know whether to keep the short sleeves, but if I don't really like the way the short sleeves are on the photograph here, so I am tempted to actually make a ruffled sleeve. I thought that would really fit with the project, with the garment. So I am in the process of swatching for that t-shirt. In my last episode, I showed a plate of manchelope. So I am thinking of using manchelope for the body of the t-shirt. So I took some manchelope. It's actually plated up in 2 strands, and I actually tried to knit with the 2 strands like I would, for example, plotalope. So I'm no stranger to knitting with unspun yarn. However, trying to knit with manchelope, even with 2 strands, because usually if you knit with 1 strand, like my Fox's sweater was knit with 1 strand, plotalope breaks all over the place. So you do have to take your time and be mindful and knit slowly and gently with plotalope. But once you knit double with plotalope, I find that it's a lot more sturdy, more robust, but plotalope is so much more robust than manchelope. So I tried to just knit with 2 strands and it was breaking all over the shop. So there is no way that I can get a full garment just out of the manchelope. So this is the manchelope together with this is some drops alpaca silk that I had in my stash, and this is a bit of the yarn vomit that came out the middle. So I just broke that off and used a bit to swatch with. So I really like these two together. So this is just the drops alpaca silk held together with the manchelope, and I really like the fabric that it's created. It's soft, and I think just having it for the body would be amazing. However, I'm not really sure what to do for the sheer sheer yoke and sleeves. I don't actually have I don't have a lot of this, so it's under 2 balls of the drops alpaca silk. So I could just do, you know, the top with the alpaca silk and buy some more, or I don't know whether, so I have some, this is the hologram mohair by Elizabeth Paul. So I bought this at a yarn festival a few years ago, and it's beautiful. I did buy quite a lot, but I used about about 8 skeins or 8 hanks in a cardigan, and I have this much left. So I don't know whether this together would work. So this will be the body, and then on top you've got the sheer bit with using this, or just go monochrome with, just stick to the purple, magenta purple with this. I don't know. Please preference, or if you think one would look better than the other, please let me know in the comments. I have no idea. And I think what the look I'm kind of going for with this would be, you know, feminine, girly, flirty with the frilly sleeves, ruffled sleeves. So I think that would be quite a nice project. So that's all I have for you today. I want to wish you a warm and loving start to 2024, and una salut from my house to yours. Happy New Year. See you next time.